Washington's clear-thinking headquarters. The Morning Majority, 5 to 9 on 630 WMAL.
How very interesting. You're a true Vulgarian, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. 637 on WMAL.
That is what the royal couple will now say whenever they meet an American.
I guess so. Brian, even Major Gare from...
You are a true Vulgarian, aren't you?
Major Gare from the National Journal in this morning. Big royal wedding this morning. TREVOR MATICH joins us now, former Redskins player, ESPN commentator, Comcast, Sportsnet, you name it.
Not a Vulgarian.
Not a Vulgarian, but I'm sure camped out in front of the TV watching the royal wedding, aren't you this morning, Trevor?
Oh, absolutely. I just am enthralled by the... I can't wait to see what color hat the Queen will be wearing.
Yeah, well, I think it's white. I think Mel Kiper had that last night as well. You know, what's funny is as I was watching the different TV stations like CNN and the news networks, they had the countdown clock for the royal wedding, and then ESPN had the countdown clock for
the draft.
For the draft.
Come on.
And then the business channels had like the debt clock going. It was just like we're
clock obsessed in this country right now.
Obsessed. That's for sure. So, Trevor, so the Redskins had the 10th pick, and they actually traded down. They swapped spots with Jacksonville and picked up their second-round pick. Before we get into Ryan Kerrigan, who the Redskins took with that 16th pick, do you see that as a positive move? Has there finally been regime change at Redskins Park if they're trading down?
Oh, the adults are finally in charge.
Right.
You know, I was worried that the Redskins would trade their first-round pick, but for Arnold Schwarzenegger because he looks so good on film.
Right.
Terminator.
Yeah.
You know, put that on the defensive line.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, you know. And so I thought this move to acquire the player they wanted anyway and then to add another second-rounder I thought was a fantastic move.
Well, but they did pass up on a quarterback. Were you surprised at that?
Not necessarily, because at the time that they could have picked, you know, they could have gotten Blaine Gabbert,
yeah.
and I think that would have been a good. No, check that. No, Jacksonville took him.
Yeah, well,
right.
But I mean, they could have picked him because they could have had him
at 10th.
Yeah, okay, good. Then the thing is, though, the thing about not picking a quarterback now tells me how they're building the team. Yeah, because you're right. The thing is, though, I liked it. And the reason is that you take a look at the last several drafts of the Redskins. You've got the first rounder a couple of years ago, Brian Orakpo, a disruptive pass rusher. Then you've got last year Trent Williams, a cornerstone left tackle. And now you've got this year Kerrigan, another disruptive pass rusher. That's the very definition of building a team from the inside out with the key core players in the fundamental positions for the long term. Now, you can take a quarterback there, but that's about a 50-50 shot that guy's going to help you ever, much less in the first couple of years. So I love the style that they've shown the last several years, and I think Shanahan did a great job this year in the first round.
Major Garrett here. What did you think about it? Everyone who knows me being on the show knows I'm from San Diego. I'm a huge Charger fan. So let me just step off the Redskins for just a second and ask you what you know of anything about Corey Legit, who was the Chargers pick in the 18th round.
Well, he's a tough, hard-nosed inside interior lineman, and it's the same thing. You know, if I were to start a team, Major, from scratch, an expansion team, the first positions I want to take, in no particular order, are offensive line, defensive line or pass rusher, and cover corner, because you've got to be able to protect your quarterback, and you've got to be able to disrupt the opponent's quarterback. And so anytime a top defensive lineman or pass rusher is taken in the first round, I don't care what the other needs are. I think that's a good pick. And Corey Legit is a you know, he's legit. Solid guy.
Yeah. Were you surprised Mark Ingram fell as far as he did?
Not really, because the running back from Alabama, former Heisman Trophy winner, he's a guy that is going to help, I think, for about 5 years. And then after that, the jury's out as to whether his body will hold up. Typically, unless a running back is super elite, he's not taken high in the first round just because of that reason. They have a lower lifespan.
All right. How good is Ryan Kerrigan? I know you talked about it a little bit before. Do you expect him to start? Do you expect him to get a lot of playing time this year?
Yeah, if he can make the transition to outside linebacker like Orakpo did from defensive end in college, I think he'll be terrific. And the reason is he's so mobile, he is very strong, and he led the Big Ten in sacks the last couple of years from the defensive end position. And so coming from linebacker, well, he'll have different ways to attack and blitz. I think he'll be very effective, and they need somebody on the other side of Orakpo. The way things have been offensive lines have been able to slide to Arakpo and focus on him, and he's still gotten his share of sacks and pressures. But now that they'll have somebody on the other side, if Kerrigan is at all ready to play mentally, they'll put him on the field to complement Arakpo.
All right, what do you think about the NFL, the chances of them actually playing games this September?
I think it's good. I think part of the reason is the kick in the rear end that the judge has been giving the NFL. It's been a series of really crushing legal defeats, and because of that, I can see the NFL not wanting to push it by trying to enforce a lockout that the judge has said is illegal. And unless the NFL loses on appeal, then a lockout would be in contempt of that order, from what I see.
And Trevor, I wonder what your reaction was last night to seeing the commissioner, Roger Goodell, booed as lustily as he was. I mean, I think that was the fans' reaction. This is a big party for the NFL, and it's become a huge event. And at that party, the fans said, "We're sick of this." That was my interpretation.
Yeah, well, good point. And also keep in mind they're in New York, so you've got the most harsh critics of all that. I'm happy a battery didn't come flying at him like it flew at the San Diego Chargers or a block of ice, San Diego Chargers sideline.
That'd have been a wine cooler. Come on, you know that.
Well, there you go. You know what, though? I like the way Goodell handled it, though. Instead of going up there and heckling the hecklers, he got on their side and said, I do too.
Yeah.
I want football too, and that was really.
I feel Commissioner Goodell I was tried to be in more ways that Paul Tagliabue was not, and Pete Rozelle even wasn't before that, a fans commissioner. I think he really has tried to be a fans commissioner, but I think he feels trapped by what the owners have demanded of him. And I think if he's smart, and I have a sense that he is, he's telling the owners, fold him.
Well,
cut a deal and let's play football.
Well, sure. The thing is, the judge keeps on slipping aces out of her sleeve and
no doubt.
Player's sleeve.
No doubt.
And so I'm not saying there's anything illegal going on there, just to say that her thumb now is on the player's side of the scale, and the owners need to understand that. And her rescinding the lockout, essentially, is probably the biggest thing that she could do against the owners. So right now, there's reason for both sides to want to settle this.
All right, Trev. Great talking to you as always. We appreciate you getting up early.
All right, thanks, man.
TREVOR MATICH, former Redskins player, ESPN, also Comcast Sportsnet. You also see last night, the first time Cam Newton, when he was selected first pick, Roger Goodell put out his hand right away because there were a lot of people saying, well, will the players even shake Goodell's hand? And he made it clear that he wanted to shake his hand. He even got a bear hug from a couple of players.
Mark Ingram among them. Yeah. And one of the things that the Players Association wisely understood is when they floated the idea of the players not going to the draft, they found that the fans and the public completely rejected that idea, and rapidly they put that to rest. And it was still a celebration, still about the players. I'm telling you, this is the number one sport in America. I wish baseball was, but I'm not getting my way on that. And the NFL owners need to understand they are dealing from a losing deck, and they need to solve this and cut a deal and cut their